Welcome to the demo video of our annual Budget by Plus spreadsheet. Our annual Budget by Plus spreadsheet contains 19 tabs. 2 Start tabs where you enter in all your information, a Calendar tab where you can see all your bills and debt payments due on a calendar view, a Log tab where you enter all your transactions, a Year tab that will show you an annual overview of your income and expenses, 12 monthly budget tabs, and when you scroll a little bit further down, you also find a savings tab where you can keep track of your savings and sinking funds, a debt tab that will allow you to plan your debt snowball, and lastly, you will also find a bonus tab or a worksheet that will help you to focus on spending less and saving more. To start with the setup of your spreadsheet, head over to the Start tab. We recommend starting at the Start tab, as when you make changes here, it will update everywhere else in the spreadsheet. So for example, to change your currency, all you have to do is double click on the field, remove the dollar sign and type in a currency sign or abbreviation of your own, such as the euro sign. Now you'll see that if you head to any of the other tabs, your currency has been updated. Now the same goes for the year. All you have to do is double click on the field and simply change it to the year for which you would like to budget here. So for example, 2023. When you change this here, it will update in all the different monthly tabs as well as in the year tab. It will now show you only the months for 2023. Now the next thing you're going to want to do is add your personal subcategories. In total, you could add 15 income subcategories and 25 savings, expenses, and debt subcategories, and you can enter 23 bill subcategories. To change a subcategory, all you have to do is simply double click on a field and type in a subcategory of your own. So let's say, for example, you want to go out to the movies every single month and you want to set a budget for this. You just type this in here. Now the next thing you're going to want to do is add in a due date for your bills and your debt payments. When you enter in a due date, make sure to only enter the day number. So for example, for the 15th of the month, just type in 15 for the phone plan. When you add this information here, it will automatically be added to the Start To tab for you. If your bills or debt payments don't fall the same every single month, just simply add this information here, like a rough date, it doesn't matter. We'll head over to the Start To tab later, which is a payment planner, so you can add these different bills and these different days later. Now the next thing you're going to want to do is scroll a little bit further down so you can set up your savings and sinking funds and your debt snowball. Basically, you'll see that all your savings and sinking funds have already been added based on the subcategories you've added on the top here. And now all you have to do is enter a goal, enter a start amount. So let's say, for example, money that you've already saved for the savings or sinking funds. And if you'd like, a monthly contribution. So let's say, for example, you have a wedding that you want to save $15,000 for, but you've already saved $5,000. Now you want to contribute $250 for this every single month. You just add this information here. Now when you head over to your savings dashboard, you can see that this information has been added here. When you add transactions throughout the year, the saved will show up here and you will see exactly how much there's still left to save for every single savings or sinking funds. And on the top here, you'll also be able to see a total goal, the total monthly, how much you've saved in total, and what there's still left to save for all your savings and sinking funds in total. Now when we head back to the Start tab, we can now set up our Debt Snowball tab. To start with the setup of your debt snowball, simply change the start date on the top here. Simply double click and scroll through the calendar to find the right month that you want to start paying off your debts. So let's say, for example, you want to start budgeting on January 2023, and that's also when you would like to start paying off debt. You scroll through the calendar and select the 1st of January 2023. Now you can enter in all your debt information. It might be good to know that you don't need to add your debts in any specific order, as the spreadsheet will automatically arrange them by balance from smallest to largest, as with the debt snowball method, you pay off smallest debts first. So basically, you just enter all your debts. It doesn't matter what order you add them in, you just add the amounts or the balance that you currently have for every single debt, and then you add the minimum monthly payments. And then lastly, you make sure to enter in the interest rates. So now the last thing you can add is you can see that you pay a total of $120 towards minimum payments every single month. And let's say, for example, you want to pay off the debt a little bit faster and you have $200 available every single month that you want to put towards your debt. You can add that extra amount that you have available on the top here. So in this case, this would be $80. Now, if you head over to your debt tab, so you scroll down here, you can see that all your information has been pre-entered for you. Now we have tried to make this debt dashboard as easy to read as possible. So let's say, for example, you would like to start paying off debts in January 2023, and you would like to see how much you need to pay towards each debt for that month. Basically, all you need to do is change the year and change the month by clicking on this drop-down menu. And now in this overview here, you'll be able to see exactly how much you need to pay towards each debt. You'll also be able to see how much you've already paid. This is based on the Log tab, where you'll enter your transactions. And you'll be able to see how much there's left to pay and what the balance will be at the end of the month. Now, as it is currently December 2022 and we said we would start paying off debt in January 2023, the balance here is 0. But if we go back to the Start tab and just change it for this example, so let's say we wanted to start paying off debt in November. Now when we head over to the Debt tab, we can see that our current balance as it is December 2022 would be $5,628.59 at the end of the month after we have made all our payments. We can now also just switch back to, let's say for example, December 2022. And we can see that in this month, all the payments that we would have to make without having to scroll through the whole spreadsheet. Now, some other information that you're able to see in the spreadsheet is when each debt will be paid off. That you can easily see that on the top here. You'll also be able to see the balance for each debt or a breakdown for each debt at the end of the month. So what the balance will be and what the payment will be. And you'll also be able to see in this overview section here what you plan to pay towards the debts in total each and every single month and what the balance at the end of the month will be. Now we've added a couple of features to make this debt snowball a little bit more customizable to your situation, as we know that month to month your situation might change, and this way you can change it in a way that it works for you. One of the features that we have added is that you can add or subtract money to your planned monthly payments. So let's say, for example, you expect a big bonus in February and would like to pay an extra $500 towards your debts that month. You just type in that $500 here and you can see that all your planned payments will now update automatically for you. You can now also see that all your balances have been updated. Now the same works if you would like to pay a little bit less. So let's say, for example, in February you actually have $50 less to spend because you need to pay a bill. You just type that amount here, and again, all the monthly payments and the balances have automatically been updated for you. Now, another feature that we have added is that you can pay more towards any debt at any time. Basically, we know that sometimes, even though debt snowball, you pay off debts from smallest to largest, there might be a debt that is personal to you or a debt that has a very high interest rate that you would simply like to get rid of first. Now, basically, to do that, all you have to do is just enter higher transactions. So let's say, for example, this credit card number 2 is really bothering you and you would just like to get rid of this debt completely and you have some extra money available. Now, all you have to do is just head over to the Log tab. So you just scroll to the top here. And now let's say, for example, you make that payment of $25, that minimum monthly payment that you had already planned. Now, when you go back to the Debt tab, you can see that now there's actually nothing left to pay. But let's say you would just like to get rid of the balance, so there's still that $704.76, and you would like to make that payment too. You just head back to your Log tab again, enter that information. So again, you locked that second payment. And now when you head back over to your Debt tab, you can actually see that your payment here has been updated. You can also see that there was nothing left to pay because in total you paid $729.76, and now that the balance will actually be 0. You can also see that all the other transactions afterwards have been updated as well. So you can see that more money has now been put towards that first payment as the $25 became available of that minimum monthly payment, and all the balances and all the calculations have been redone for you. And that is basically how the debt dashboard works. And that also means you've completed your setup in the Start tab. Now let's head over to our second Start tab, the Start 2 tab, and continue with the setup of our spreadsheet. The payment planner was created so you can plan out your payments for the full year, not only for your bills and debts, but also for your subscriptions and for any other regular bills, such as annual bills, quarterly bills, or any bi-weekly bills that you might have not listed. When you add or change your information here, it will be added to the calendar for you, and the budget amounts or the planned amounts will also be added to the budget plan sections. So let's say, for example, you have all your bills here. Now you can add a rough amount for every single month what you expect to pay. Say you expect, for example, $500, $50, another $50, let's say $25 towards gas, $40 for internet, $25 for your gym, and you pay $50 towards your phone plan. It will now automatically be pre-filled for every single month for you. The same goes for the due date. Now, while this information is automatically pre-filled, please know that these fields are open and you can change them so that your calendar will show the right amount and it will show on the right due date. As we know that, for example, some people might pay bills every 4 weeks instead of every month, so this due date might change. So let's say, for example, your gas, you expect that to be a little bit higher. In January, you simply type in $40 here, for example, and you change the date because you actually in January paid on the 10th. Now, when you get over to the calendar tab, now when we switch over to January and we switch over to 2023, because that is the year that we have set, now we can see, for example, that our gas bill shows for $40 on the 10th. It does not show on the 7th. You can do this for every single bill. You can also do this for every single debt payment. So basically, again, when you add your information here, it will automatically add it to the calendar for you. You can now also see that now when we've added our information here, when we go to the budget tab, we can see that all these amounts have been added to our plan section here as well already. Now you can do the same for the debts, and when you scroll down a little bit further here, you can see we added a separate section for subscriptions here. We have done this because we know that many people have more than 23 bills, of which most might be monthly subscriptions that get taken out on a regular basis, and these lists can get very long. So instead of having all this information in another section, which makes your budget spreadsheet even larger, we have simply summarized them together. So let's say, for example, you have 5 subscriptions that you would like to add, such as Netflix, Amazon Prime, and you also pay for Spotify. Now next thing you're going to do is add the due date here, and what you can also do is just add the amount here. So let's say, for example, these are the amounts that you pay. You can see they automatically pre-filled just the same way it was done for the monthly bills. Now when we go over to our calendar, we can see that on the 1st our Netflix is added, on the 5th our Amazon Prime is added. And when we get over to the budget tab, we can see that the total of our subscriptions has been added here as well. This way your budget does not become too full, but you can still plan for all your payments and you can see exactly where your money went. Now the last section that we've added on the bottom here is the irregular bills. So irregular bills is basically an extra section where you can add up to 40 bills. You can add any bills that you have not listed on the top. So let's say, for example, you have a bi-weekly bill and you have only listed it here and all your spots are full. If you like, you can add the second bill that gets taken out every 2 weeks. You can add that over here. Another option is to add annual bills and of course any quarterly bills or any irregular bills that you have due. So basically this section works the same way as the subscriptions. It does not have its own section on the budget. Instead, it just shows as a total here on the bottom. So let's say, for example, on the 1st of January, you always pay some fees, some maintenance fees. You simply add that information here, and this takes place in January. So let's say this is $150. You will now see that the amount is added and that the box will color purple, so it will remind you that you need to enter a date. So let's say this is due on the 7th. You just enter this information here. You do have to enter a day because or else without this information, the spreadsheet will not know where to place it on the calendar. So now again, when we go to the calendar, we can see that on the 7th, the maintenance fees has been added. You can now also see that when you go to the budget tab, it's been added to the plan section here as well. And that is basically how the payment planner works and the first 2 start tab works. So now that we have set up this information, let's have a little bit of a better look at our calendar tab before we head over to the budgets. We already had a better look at our calendar tab earlier when we were setting up our payments, but we did want to have a better look at the calendar tab and show you all its functions. So basically all the bills will be added automatically in order for you over here. You don't have to do anything, all you have to do is add them to your payments planner. Now once they've been added here, you can see that they will automatically be added to your calendar. So in the calendar, you'll be able to see the bill as well as the amount. If the amount is shown as incorrect, be sure not to change it over here, but instead to change it on the Start To tab. Now to change the month, you just click on this little button and basically you can just select a month from the drop-down menu. So let's say, for example, it is December 2022. You just click December, click on here to change the year to 2022. Another option that we have added is to pick between a Monday and Sunday start of the week, so you can set it up in your preferred way. If you'd like, you can also add your paydays. In total, you can add up to 5 paydays, and basically all you have to do for this is double click on the field and select a payday from the calendar. So for example, you get paid on the 1st, the 8th, the 15th, the 22nd, and let's say the 29th, because you get paid weekly. You will now easily be able to see on your calendar when you get paid. Now in addition, we have also added some checkboxes here. So let's say, for example, when you pay a bill, you can just mark them off as paid over here. Now, it might be good to know that when you mark a bill off as paid here, it will not mark it off as paid over here. So we have added checkboxes here too. So basically here in a full payments planner, you can mark it off as paid. It might be easier to have a full overview to see of which bills are still due. But we've added the option on both, so basically you can pick whichever works for you. Now, it might be good to know that when you change the month or when you change the year, the calendar will update. So let's say, for example, we head over to January 2023. We can now see that the calendar updates, but the paydays do not change and that the paid boxes stay. So for that reason, it might sometimes be easier to just keep this calendar tab as a template and create a duplicate for every new month instead. This way you don't have to delete or change all the paydays every single time, but you'll just have an empty template with the checkboxes left unchecked And basically for that month, you just add your paydays, you mark off when a bill is paid, and that way at the end of the month, you can just delete the tab. We would recommend keeping the original as a template, as this contains all the formulas that work, so that way if you make any accidental changes, you can always delete it and create a duplicate of the original, so you'll always have a template that works and contains the formulas as intended. Now, to create a duplicate is very easy. All you have to do is click on this little arrow and click duplicate. So basically now you'll have an exact copy of the original that you already had. Now, if you want to rename it, so for example, if you want to plan ahead for any months or if you want to delete it, all you do is click on this little arrow again and click either rename or you can click delete. And that is basically how the calendar tab works. Now, the next tab we're going to have a look at is our budget tab. So you'll have 12 monthly individual budget tabs, so one for each and every single month. As you can see now, all your categories or subcategories have been pre-filled here. You can also see that your bill section, the plan section, has already been pre-filled because you've entered that information in the Start To tab. And if you've entered some information for your debts, you would have seen that this would have been pre-filled as well. Now, the next thing you're going to still need to enter is your plan section for your income, savings, and expenses. So to make it a little bit easier, we have added a section here that will show you how much there's still left of your plan section. So let's say, for example, you add your income. Now you can see that you expect to get $5,010 for this month, and since you already budgeted $925 towards bills, you can still see that there's $4,085 left to budget. So now you can still just go ahead and budget for everything that you need to budget. And basically when you add that information here, you can see that the number keeps decreasing. So this section will allow you to basically have a better idea of where you've planned your income and how much there's still left to plan from your income. So let's go ahead and quickly set this up so we can have a better look at how the budget spreadsheet works. Now that we've entered all our planned information, we can see that there's still $1,335 left to budget. Now this is of course a fictional budget, so we have just added some fictional amount, but if you're doing an actual budget, this might help you to actually stay on budget and to plan where your income goes. Now for the actual sections, you don't have to do anything in this tab, as the actuals are linked to the log tab, and basically when you add your information there, it will automatically add it to the right month and the right subcategory for you. So let's say for example January started and you want to start adding your expenses. Now you simply head to the log tab, and to enter in the date you just double click on the field. You select the date from the calendar. Now you type in the amount, so let's say 2,500. You select the category and you select the subcategory. Now these subcategory dropdowns will automatically load for you based on the information you have entered in the Start tab. So if you find that any subcategory is missing, just head back to your Start tab and add that information there. So now when we head back to our budget, so let's say we click on January, we can now see that the paycheck has been added here. And we also be able to see this in our actual overview. We can see our plan versus actual section has updated and our left to spend section has updated. Now let's add a couple more transactions so we can have a better look at how the budget works. Now that we've added these transactions, for example, you can see that we've added 2 transactions for groceries. So when we get back to our budget, we can see that the total has been added here for you, so you don't have to do any calculations. Basically, you just add the transactions and they will automatically show up in the right month and in the right subcategory for you. Now that we've added these transactions, we can also see that slowly the plan versus actual section has been updating. We can see that this overview is updating. Our left to spend is slowly decreasing as we have now been spending money. We also be able to see a breakdown of our expenses. Now there's one feature that we've added, which is the rollover function, which you might have already seen is this budget versus actual section. Basically, the rollover function was included so you can either use this as a rollover budget, where you take money that was left from previous months, or you can use this as a zero-based budget and only budget for this month. So to activate the rollover function, all you have to do is click this checkbox. Now, as this is the first month we're budgeting, we can see that there's no money left over from previous months, as we had not entered any information for that month. So let's say, for example, it is now January, but you actually want to add a start balance because, for example, you have some money left over and it's in your bank account and you want to use it to budget more accurately. Now, if you want to include a start balance, we just recommend going to the log tab and basically log a transaction that happened before you started budgeting. So let's say, for example, you start in January 2023, you just enter in a date that happened before that. So let's say, for example, in December 2022. Now let's say you had $500 in your bank account, you just enter this amount here. Now select an income and select any of the income subcategories, it doesn't matter which one. Now when we head back to our budget, we can see that this $500 has been added here and that our left to spend section has been updated as well. Now it might be good to know that the planned amount does not change, so basically you can type this in manually. So let's say, for example, you already know that in January you already set an extra $500 aside. You can just enter this amount manually over here and then it will be included in your budget section as well. Now once you've added a start balance, everything will roll over automatically for you as long as you have this checkbox selected. So let's say, for example, when you go to the next month, now all you have to do is just click this little box here and you can see that any money that was left over from last month, which in this example is $3,160, you can see that this has now been added here because you didn't spend any of that money last month. And that is basically how the budget tab works. You'll have 12 of these budget tabs, so for every single month. So you can see that the bills and the debt sections will automatically be filled for you, but then you do have to enter the planned amounts for every month individually. If you have left this open or have not linked them to each other, that basically you can start this budget on any single month, but also let's say, for example, your income might change month to month a lot. How much you want to save might change a lot, how much you want to pay towards your debt might change a lot. So this way you can truly budget still month by month. Now the last tab that you might want to have a better look at is our year tab, and this is one of the easiest tabs as this tab is fully automated and everything updates automatically for you. Basically, this tab will allow you to have a better look at month by month to how you did, for example, on your income or your savings, and maybe also allows you to have a better idea of where your money went and perhaps where you could save more money. So like we said, everything updates here automatically for you. When you enter your planned information in the month tabs, these amounts will update, your actuals will update. You don't have to do anything over here, but simply select the tab and look at the information that you would like to see. And that is basically it. That is how our annual budget works. If you have any other questions, I'll be sure to leave some contact information in the description box down below. Thank you so much for watching and have a great day.